Well, the Prime Minister has written to the opposition leader, Bill Shorten, seeking his cooperation, his support as the government attempts to push through legislation on metadata in the interests of national security. Joining me now is one of the biggest, strongest opponents of this legislation, Senator Scott Ludlam of the Greens. Now, the Prime Minister, Scott Ludlam, says that, well, the government's not trying to give any new powers to security agencies, just ensure that the information that they already collect is available for up to 2 years. What's wrong with that?
There's a lot wrong with it. The fact is the information, and such as it is, that's already being collected is being accessed 500,000 times a year at least that we know of, not including ASIO, without a single warrant being issued. The system in Australia is actually pretty broken. What the Prime Minister is proposing to do will make it worse. I think we should take a bit of a step back because this proposal isn't new. It's been washing around since at least 2008. The Prime Minister's tactic of bullying the opposition leader Bill Shorten, then leaking the letter to a newspaper to distract away from the fact that his government has melted would be funny if it wasn't for the fact that it's a mass surveillance proposal. It's a remarkably cynical tactic under the circumstances.
But it will help security agencies fight significant crimes like terrorism, child pornography and other areas of crime fighting. They say it's essential. Yeah. Why not offer them those powers?
David, if you can find any evidence at all that that's the case, I invite you to put it up on your show as rapidly as you can. I asked precisely that question to the Attorney General's Department on Monday. Show us any evidence in the jurisdictions where data retention regimes either exist or existed for a period of time before they were annulled by human rights courts, as happened in Europe. And they can provide not a shred of evidence, either in a law enforcement or a national security context, that vacuuming up everybody's data on a massive scale has any impact at all, either on clearance of crime.
It has led to convictions, though.
They weren't able to show us.
It had led to convictions.
Well, metadata leads to convictions every single day. I have no argument with the fact that that getting access to this material is almost ubiquitous in law enforcement, anti-corruption and counter-terrorism. It's the fact that A, it's all happening without a warrant, and they want it to stay that way, and B, on the kind of larger scale, there's no evidence that indiscriminate data collection on the entire population, innocent or guilty, has any impact. That's the issue I've got.
Just a minute left. Just a minute left. How easy is it for those who would want to avoid detection under this legislation, under this metadata collection?
Well, go and see the Edward Snowden film Citizen 4, which is released around Australia in a couple of days, and that'll give you a chilling example of how hard it is to evade detection. But from the US NSA at least. But the Australian system would be trivially easy to circumvent if you're using, at least in the online context, not so much on the mobile phone, but if you're using a US or European service provider like Gmail or Facebook or Twitter, it won't be caught by the data retention regime. I think the fact that it'll have these giant holes in the system might be one of the reasons why they can't point to any evidence that it'll have an impact.
But it would be caught, you'd assume, by the American watchers, wouldn't it?
Well, seriously, go and see this film Citizen 4. It's absolutely chilling. The scale of the data harvesting by US authorities, and Australia obviously is deeply implicated in that.
Okay.
A lot of this stuff is being collected without anybody's consent.
Green Senator Scott Ludlam, we're right out of time. Thanks for your company. Thanks for your company at home. I'm David Lipson, the news.